Okay, so welcome to JASP. The purpose of this video is to just show you kind of the basics of how JASP works. I'm assuming that you've downloaded and you've installed JASP. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and show you just the basics of how it's organized so that when you do use it, it'll look a little bit familiar to you. So I'm going to go ahead and open up an existing file. This is a file that we use from another class. We actually collected some data, and we're going to use that file to demonstrate how JASP works. So we'll take the fall 2020 pandemics class. Now, once I clicked on it, it pulls right up. And the thing to just sort of understand about JASP is, let me make this a little bit bigger for you. The thing to understand about JASP is that it really works like three panels. This is the first panel, and it's your data panel. Okay, it shows all of the data that are in the data file. Now, across this top row here, those are the variables, and then each variable contains data. Okay, so right now, all we see are numbers, but I can do some interesting things also to make the data look a little bit more interesting. For example, I know that the variable sex, a 1 means male and a 2 means female. So I could change the label and look what it does in the column. Okay, and that's kind of helpful just in terms of when we run some analyses. So we'll just, leave it like that. Okay, but the underlying values are still there. It's just showing the actual labels associated with each value. So we have marital status, ethnicity, political orientation, education. I won't go into what all the numbers mean for each of those variables. There's a code book. And we will be using this data file in class to run some analyses. So it's good for you to see it now, okay? But I can sort of scroll all the way across, and you'll notice that we have all these different variables up here, and these variable names correspond to actual questions in a survey that we gave people, and their responses are in each variable, okay? So, it looks a lot like SPSS, which you may have had some experience with, but it's also different. It's also a little bit easier to use. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is actually run some descriptive statistics. And what you'll notice is that we have up here descriptives, t-tests, ANOVA, regression. These are all the statistical tests that we can run. So let's just click on descriptives, okay? And the nice thing about JASP, which is one of the reasons that I like it a lot more than SPSS, is that you actually get the results in real time. Okay, so let's imagine I'm just curious to get descriptive statistics about the age of individuals. Okay, I just click on age, and just like SPSS, I pass over the variable. But notice right here, in real time, it did the calculations for us. So the moment I passed it over, in our output, it shows up and tells me that the mean was 35.82, standard deviation 17.617. In SPSS, we'd actually have to tell SPSS to run things, and then it produces the output in a separate window. But every time I make a change in JASP, let's say I want to do distribution plots and get some idea whether it's a normal curve in the distribution, up it comes right away. The moment I click these things, see this? There's the box plot, right? See, there are other statistics. Let's say I want to get the median, the mode, skewness, and kurtosis, all things you probably are familiar with, okay? And you'll notice up here, this table automatically adjusted. There's the mean, the median, the mode. That wasn't there earlier, okay? So here's the third panel. This is the output panel. The middle panel is really where we make our selections. And if we want to go back to our data, we click over on the far left. So notice here's our data, okay? And if I click here, it takes me over to this middle panel. I can adjust the width of these, right? So that's pretty cool, okay? And then in real time, notice this table here, here's mode. If I unclick mode, watch what happens to it, right? It's gone. So this is really easy to use. And so it's perfect for learning how to do stats. Now, if you go on in psychology and you actually run lots of stats in the future, you will probably need to use SPSS at some point. Or you can use JASP, which does many of the same things and some things that SPSS doesn't even do. Or, some of the newer programs coming out like R, you might want to use too. So it's a good idea to become, kind of proficient in a lot of different environments to run statistics. JASP seems to me to be the easiest one to learn on. So, and you're at the stage where you need to just learn how to run the stats. So this is a really good program for us to use, for you to get familiar with how to run stats. And again, it's just so easy. Like if I want to get rid of all my descriptives, I'll click here, they're gone. Okay, and then I can just go ahead. Let's say I want to run t-tests. Like, we're going to be talking about independent samples t-tests later. Okay, so now it's ready to go. Okay, and I'll group my data between males and females. So I'll choose sex as the grouping variable. And then let's just see if there are differences between males and females in terms of how old they are in our data set. So we're running the t-test on age, breaking it down by males and females. And we notice, look, we get a statistically significant t-test result. The p-value is less than 0.001. And now we're kind of curious, well, where's the difference? I mean, who's older, the men or the women? So one way I can find that out is I just click descriptives, right? And the males on average were 47 years old. The females were 31. So the males are clearly older, and that is not due by chance. So that's interesting to know about our data set, that the males in our data set were a lot older than the females by about 16 years on average. So that's quite a bit. So I'd be curious how that happened within our sampling method, right? It'd be good to ask that question. At any rate, that's the way JASP works. And so this is just a quick overview of it. Hope you enjoyed it. And we will be using JASP a lot coming up.